Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today we're talking about a work which you probably didn't expect to see in this series, but I think it deserves to be for several reasons. It's the Furtwängler Symphony No. 2. And the recording in question is this one, the Chicago Symphony, under Daniel Barenboim on Teldec. Now, Furtwängler's Second Symphony I think, is a great work. I really do. It's a post-Brucknerian kind of symphony, but it has its own character. It has a couple of good tunes, especially in the scherzo, surprisingly good tunes, and a lovely slow movement, which is not a transcendental adagio at all. It's marked andante semplice. It's a sweet, easeful, lyrical thing, and a finale which obviously takes a cue or two from Bruckner's Fifth, because it's this enormous fugue thing. And it's really a fun work to listen to. Fun, a heavy-duty German work to listen to. Let's put it that way. It has a little bit of percussion. There are a couple of hefty swats on the tam-tam that you actually hear in this performance and you don't elsewhere. And it's really a superb performance. And I have a slight personal attachment to it because when Daniel Barenboim showed up to receive his Cannes Classical Award for his Beethoven cycle, we had a little chat, and he told me he wanted to record one of the Furtwängler symphonies, and he was looking at the third. And I said to him, no, you don't want to do the third. You really don't want to do the third. It's awful. Do the second. We really need a good performance of the second, because there were several versions by Furtwängler himself, including a studio recording, all in somewhat iffy mono sound. And then there have been a couple other ones since that were just not very good. And it's a really fine work that deserved a first-class performance and recording by a major symphony orchestra. So as it turned out, he wound up doing the second. Now, I am not saying I had anything to do with it. I'm only reporting the conversation. And however it worked out, he wound up doing the Second Symphony, and it was released here on 2 CDs for the price of one. It's long out of print, but it is a performance. I mean, the piece is just terribly long. It's 35 plus 30 is 65 plus 15. It's like 80 minutes long. 81 minutes and 48 seconds. Thank you. It even tells us in the back of the box here. But it really deserves to be heard. Furtwängler as a composer was notably unsuccessful. We need to say that straight out. I mean, his initial performances were dreadful. I mean, the reception of his works early in his career in the beginning of the 20th century were nobody liked what he was doing. It was turgid. It was heavy. It was gray and kind of uninteresting. And he had been working on a bunch of pieces for a long time, which he never completed. He only completed them during his, let's just say, the Nazi interregnum. And the reason he probably completed them was because he felt, as a composer that never got the recognition he deserved, that the Nazi regime, conservative as it was, would probably grant him the opportunity to perform the works and would receive them as somehow echt Deutsch German things. So there's a certain taint, I think, to some of this music, and it's almost a certain Schadenfreude thing that the other ones, his first and third, have never gone anywhere performance-wise. But the truth of the matter is, we have to put all of that aside and take the music for its own worth, on its own basis, as it comes. And of his 3 symphonies, and that enormous symphonic piano thing, concerto thing that he wrote, and a couple other orchestral pieces, the second is the great one. And it is, and like I said, I really believe it is a great one. I think it's one of the great post-Bruckner German symphonies. There aren't many. Yes, there were. There were lots of sort of what you might call the, we call them socialist realists. Let's call them National Socialist composers who were writing conservative, boring German symphonies during the 1930s and 40s that appealed to the regime and might have gotten played. But they have been rightly, for the most part, dismissed. Although I haven't heard all of them. I can't pretend to say that there isn't some good music in there somewhere. But Furtwängler was a major artist and a conductor who certainly had a strong idea of what German music should be and what symphonic music should be. And he knew the repertoire like nobody else. And and if you look at his own recordings, which are quite good, actually. I mean, two of them are very good. I've reviewed them at classicstoday.com. If you want to go take a look there, you can see what I've had to say about his various recordings. The best known is the Deutsche Grammophon one, which was a kindness that Deutsche Grammophon allowed him to record his own Second Symphony. It's the one he chose. It's the one he chose to record because I think he knew in his heart that it was probably the best of the batch. So why didn't I choose one of Furtwängler's mono recordings as one of the greatest recordings ever? Well, the truth is, I don't think Furtwängler's performances do the work full justice. I think you need superior sound. You have to hear what he's doing. You have to let his sometimes grayish orchestration have as much color as you can pump into it. You've got to hear all of the rhythm, all the percussion, you've got to hear what the piece is before you can start making up your mind about how wonderful his versions may be compared to Daniel Barenboim's. Barenboim's a bit slower than Furtwängler tends to be, I think, a little bit here. But it doesn't matter because there's clarity and there's drive and there's a real sympathy for the idiom. It's a labor of love, and the Chicago Symphony plays fabulously well, and it's very, very well recorded. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful recording of a really important major work by a major conductor who wanted to be a composer and failed dismally at it, actually, and maybe deservedly so. But, you've always often said everybody has maybe one masterpiece in them if they have talent, and Furtwängler certainly had talent, and that was this. It was the Second Symphony, if there is one. So there it is. One of the greatest recordings ever. Truly, I believe it. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not trying to damn with faint praise. It's a wonderful recording of a wonderful work. And the best, clearly, that we're going to hear for quite some time when it comes to this particular repertoire. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.